there in Twitch land. We're just getting started here. My co-host Lurch is not here yet, so I'm just going to get the sound check started. Angel will not be here today. He is indisposed for personal reasons, but we hope to see him again next week. But we're going to get a sound check going while I wait to see if Lurch is actually going to show up. And send him a message real quick. But I'm going to do the sound check, so I'm going to open up my sound check window. And let's see if I can get my sound check window open. Yeah. There is. There we go. Twitch stream, sound check. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Sound check. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Okay, we're sounding good. I'm going to open up the chat window just so that we have that up and ready to go in case anybody comes in to talk to us this week. Oh, sounds like Lurch is starting to join us.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Lurch.
Sorry I'm jumping in last minute here.
Yeah, it happens. I was just telling everybody we were doing a sound check real quick and that Angel would not be with us this week because of personal reasons, and we'll leave it at that. We are doing the our normal show. We will be talking. We don't really have a lot of like set topics this week. Is the thing. We were going to talk about the open gaming license quite a bit this week, but that's kind of Angel's specific topic, so we're going to wait till next week to really go on it. But it is in flux is one of the things we want to put out to people. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with the open gaming license and its new 1.1 iteration for Dungeons and Dragons, and there's a big controversy out there with some back and forth between some of the other publishers that use the open gaming license and WotC Hasbro. So we're going to wait till Angel's able to really chime in on it next week before we get into any real detail. But that's just to let people know that we are aware of the situation. We talked about it very briefly last week and mentioned that we were going to go over it this week. But with Angel indisposed, we're going to push that off. There's a lot of things going on in the
most of what I know about the OGL deal, I know from Angel, from him like filling me in throughout the week. So he's definitely he knows it way better than I do.
Right. Now welcome Ghost STR. Thank you for the follow. Anyway, what's been going on with you the last week, Lurch?
So things around my house has been a little bit crazy. Squirrel has been positively determined to have cancer in her liver.
That's terrible.
So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind here recently. Like I'm trying to get things ready with work so that I can like help with taking care of things involving that and a lot of work that we're having to do to prepare for like treatments and things like that. They did confirm that it's only in the liver. It's not in her bones. It's not in her lymph nodes. It hasn't spread anywhere else. And so because of that, they want to try to get a transplant as soon as possible to prevent it from spreading anywhere else. So that's some good news on that front. We were worried it might have already, might be too late and gotten elsewhere. But so there's a good chance that I might have to take some time off to help with her transplant in the near future.
Absolutely understandable. And if you got to miss the show or anything like that, we totally understand.
I am caught up on the show Willow, so I'm prepared to talk about that later whenever we get to that subject. I've just watched the finale of it after work today.
I needed to double check because I don't think I saw the finale. I might be behind for once.
Oh well.
um, but then I've been so congested and stuff lately that I've been a little out of it. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's been my week mostly. There's a lot of congestion. Although I have been playing quite a bit of 7 Days to Die, so I've been fighting zombies. That's been a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah. I haven't been able to. I haven't had much time to play a lot of video games, but what I have done is played Final Fantasy 2.
right.
Uh, which we were stuck at the hospital last night for about 9 hours, and in that time I did get in about 4 hours or so into my Final Fantasy game using my Steam Deck,
I was going to
handheld
ask
mode.
if it was your Steam Deck. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You getting that new Steam Deck? You got it just in time, I guess. Uh,
I did. Yeah, I got it just in time to be able to like have it. I mean, if I didn't have it, I'd be playing on the
the
Nintendo
Switch,
Switch.
right?
But like at the hospital last night, Allie was playing on the Switch while I was playing on
Steam Deck.
the Steam Deck. So it kind of like makes it work out pretty well, I guess. So yeah, it's good timing. It gives me a whole new library of games to choose from that I didn't have before.
So Allie's back in town then.
So yeah, Allie got dropped. She got flown in on Saturday.
Okay.
So I picked her up on Saturday, and she's been here since then.
Yeah.
But she's gonna have to go back to Minnesota soon
Right.
for some additional treatments.
Right.
Waiting on the call to know when that's gonna actually be.
Yeah.
So
She's going to mainly get all her treatment done there.
yeah, for pretty much they're the experts on it.
Well,
So they're doing the radiation treatments and they're doing the uh in fact I'm gonna have to like go up there myself and help with a lot of things.
right. I'm surprised she's not with the Holston Cancer Center here in town, but I understand there's different specialists for different subsets of cancer and stuff. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Well, our thoughts and feelings go out to her. So we're hoping that she gets the best treatment and care possible. Um, but she's in our thoughts. Uh, like I said,
She is.
my own week has been mostly congestion and zombie killing. Lots of zombie killing. Uh,
Lots of zombie killing.
lots of
Um
zombie.
Speaking of zombie killing, are you watching The Last of Us? The show, the first episode just dropped on HBO. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
I haven't yet either. There's so much going on in
Yeah.
TV. Like tonight is the first episode of Night Court, the return to the Night Court TV show with Michelle Roche from
Yeah.
Big Bang Theory as Harry Stone's daughter, and John Larroquette's back as Dan Fielding, the assistant district attorney who worked the Night Court circuit back 30 years ago when Night Court was running. So it's going to be interesting to see that when it goes on streams tomorrow. Um, we have the final episode of New Amsterdam is tonight as well. So we get to see the end of the entire series and finally wrap everything up. Now, it's been a very emotional show. I don't know if you've watched any of it. It's one of those hospital dramas, but it talks about it's a dramatization of New York's first public hospital. So they had to take everybody, insurance or not, homeless, whatever. And it has a new director who basically puts everything on its ear because he literally takes everybody and puts the patients first and stuff all through the show. It's very emotional, and they cover things like COVID, and they covered the repeal of Roe versus Wade, and they cover all these very poignant, up to the minute subjects while dealing with a fully run public hospital. So it's quite a show, and their absolute last episode is tonight. So that's going to be something. Speaking of other upcoming episodes, you just let me know about Netflix is going to be running a 30th anniversary Power Rangers show, and it's going to have some of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in it. So that's exciting to look forward to.
Yeah. They put out a trailer for it. I'm pretty sure the trailer just dropped today, and the trailer showcases, Billy Adam, Catherine, uh, shoot, who's the others? We got
Zach.
Zach. I think it was Ryan. So it's got they're all from the Mighty Morphin show. The original Blue Ranger, the second Red Ranger, the second Pink Ranger,
So
the second Yellow
I
Ranger,
mean not Adam, but
Aisha.
Rocky and Aisha.
Uh, yeah. Rocky and Aisha. Yeah, that's what I was meaning. Rocky.
Yeah.
My brain's a little
First I
fried.
said Adam, but
Um,
Adam was the new Black Ranger. So
Adam was the Black Ranger. The second Black Ranger, and they're bringing back Walter Jones, who played Zack, the first Black Ranger. So they got both the first Black Ranger and the second Black Ranger coming on to this.
okay.
And in the trailer, they talked a little bit about how it's almost 2.5 minutes long, and it had Walter Jones, the actor who played Zack, the
Zach.
original Black Ranger, talking about how some of these other actors he's never worked with before because they came on after he left. You know,
Right.
uh, so that was interesting. I think he's the only one though. I think he's the only one on this that hasn't met any of the other Power Ranger actors that were in this program. Um, I'm curious. In the footage, they did show a Green Ranger. Didn't see who was under the helmet, so I don't know if it's just a fill-in or if they are waiting to surprise us with JDF. I wouldn't expect JDF. I don't know if he's got any involvement with it, but these are the ones that have been announced anyway.
It would be touching if we found out that JDF had done a little bit of footage before, because
yeah,
I mean, as we've said in the show before, Jason David Frank was the quintessential Power Ranger. To many of us, he was the Power Ranger, and
yeah,
so his passing is a bit of a blow to the Power Ranger community, and it would be such a tribute to him if we were to see something to honor him in the new show. And
yeah,
if he did some footage, that would be amazing.
yeah. It might be too late to do much. This is they announced. I think its drop date is April, early April. I forget when. But yeah, it's called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always 30th Anniversary Special Rangers United,
Yeah.
which is a
There, there,
mouthful of a
there's
title.
there's so much actually going on in the media world today. I mean, James Gunn and Peter Safran are hard at work on the new DCU slate. Um, we've got Fury of the Gods coming out in like a month.
What
Uh,
was that one?
Fury of the Gods. No, that's not out in a month. That's in a little bit longer, isn't it? Uh, Shazam. We got Shazam coming out soon. We've got Quantumania coming out next month for
Right. The subtitle of I
Shazam.
forgot the subtitle to the Shazam is what you're talking about. Gotcha.
Yeah. But we got Shazam coming out. We've got Quantumania coming out. Megan just recently came out, and it was phenomenal. I think that's one of the main things I'm going to talk about today. You probably did not get a chance to see it with everything going on in your life right now.
What was that?
Megan?
Megan. No, I didn't get to watch that. No, I would like to. It looks like a movie I'd enjoy, but I
It
didn't
is
get to watch it.
it is an amazing movie, and I totally recommend it. And actually, that's going to be most of my topic this week, I think. But there's just so much else going on right now. So Flash comes back next month. They've actually announced the drop date for Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights, which is in March.
Good.
So they'll be coming out in March.
Okay, so the Flash starts in February, and then Superman and Lois in March.
Yep.
And then
And Gotham
the
Knights
other one.
in March also on the same day as Superman and Lois. They both premiere on that Wednesday, I believe. And in fact, they're doing there's a small tandem teaser. It's called, I think it's called Super Knights or something like that. It's
Yeah. We'll lean on
them both
the success of Superman and Lois to hopefully convince people to
to watch.
stay and watch Gotham Knights.
Uh, Speaking of which, and that's the other big thing I wanted to talk about this week. Greg Berlanti just signed another huge contract with DC Warner Brothers.
Oh,
So,
yeah?
yeah, he re-upped his contract with them. We don't know what it's going to mean, but he has signed another contract with something like at least three more years of Berlanti doing stuff specifically for DC and Warner Brothers. So it may mean that we'll get some resurgence on some of the shows. There's even been talk about possibly farming out a couple of the shows and bringing them back on other networks. Pluto has been in talk about possibly bringing back a proper final season to Legends of Tomorrow, because a lot of people are upset because we left at a bit of a cliffhanger there with Booster Gold just barely being introduced, and they don't want to see it wrapped up in the Flash. They really want to see it wrapped up in its own space. And so there's talk about possibly Pluto picking that up. And of course, Pluto is a free streaming service, so that means we could watch it on Pluto for free if it happened. Because some of these other free streaming services and other streaming services, period, are trying to farm out for certain products to have more of their own original content. On the same vent, there's a big push right now. We don't know if there's anything going to happen with it because of things, but there's a big push to possibly farm out the Snyderverse version of the DCU to allow Netflix to finish it, because Netflix has a contract with Snyder already, and DC has in the past sublicensed some of their products to other networks, like Lucifer's on Netflix right now, and that's a DC product, and Sandman was just on Netflix, and that's a DC product. So if they sublicense just the Snyderverse version, we could possibly get the rest of the Snyderverse JLA saga done.
That sounds exciting.
It's in the rumor stage right now. It's in the rumor and the suggestion stage right now. But it's a possibility for a revenue stream for Warner Brothers. And right now they're looking so hard for money at Warner Brothers DC that it might be something to convince the powers that be over there to go for it. And I think that the Snyder fans would be overjoyed if something like that happened, because it would put it back into the umbrella of Snyder, because Snyder has a contract with Netflix, and it would bring back a lot of the versions of the characters that a lot of people are really sad to see go, even though some of us are excited about seeing another reboot in the DCU, because the DCU has never quite properly had a full support behind it. And that's the thing that James Gunn and Peter Safran are supposed to be bringing to it. And I'm cautiously optimistic of their reboot strategies, but there's still a lot of sadness in the loss of things like Henry Cavill's Superman and Jason Momoa's Aquaman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman and stuff. And we kind of would like to see that original vision of Snyder and the three-part Justice League saga. I would like to see it finished, and I know you're in that camp too.
Yeah.
So it's all in rumors right now, but rumors, suggestions, conjectures, and hopes. But
speaking of James Gunn and superhero rumors, James Gunn tweeted a photo either yesterday or today. Time is blah.
Yes.
So, but in the last day or two, James Gunn tweeted a photo of a really thick graphic collection of comics that he was and he tweeted that he was having a good read, something or another, right? I forget exactly what he said. And I happened to recognize the story in the pictures. Like, it didn't show the cover,
Oh,
but you could see
yeah.
the page it was open to. And the page he was open to was a page from Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman,
Yes,
which
I saw it.
is one of my personal favorite Superman stories that I've read.
Yeah, there's a couple of reports out saying that he possibly has leaked the inspiration for his Superman premise, and All Star
Yeah,
Superman is the one that almost everybody is thinking that it's going to be because of those pictures and stuff that he tweeted. Another
yeah,
thing on the James Gunn front is they have said that although James Gunn may be done with Guardians of the Galaxy after Volume 3, they are fully planning to keep Guardians of the Galaxy as a franchise going. Uh, and since throughout the history of the comics, the Guardians have changed rosters several times and stuff. And
yeah.
having a different person behind the helm sometimes is going to be fine. Gunn is just going to be very busy with DC a lot.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, even the version of the Guardians that we have for the movies was not a single member of this Guardians was in the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics. That's how much
right.
the roster's changed.
Yeah.
Um,
But it is
here's
exciting to hear.
here's a better representation of this what we're talking about. When the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie was still being developed, Stan Lee was asked about the movie, and Stan Lee's answer. And I don't remember exactly what the question was, but Stan Lee answered that he doesn't even know which Guardians of the Galaxy the movie was about.
Yeah, because they've had such a diverse roster of characters in the Guardians. It is like the Avengers. Avengers has had a very diverse roster. The Defenders have had various members. A lot of the team ups in Marvel specifically are very dynamically rostered, so it's always kind of fun to watch and see
Yeah.
what iteration actually gets translated to the big screen. And
The only one that bothers me is the Fantastic Four. Like, at a certain point, every Fantastic Four member was not a Fantastic Four family member, you know?
right.
I was like, oh, come on, the Fantastic Four is a family. Like, they're like an actual
Well,
family.
and yeah,
What?
at least the beginning of the Fantastic Four has to be the core group. It has to be
Like,
Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. It has to be
like,
in the initial.
when you get to the point where the Fantastic Four, like the four members of the Fantastic Four, aren't any of that family anymore, just
Yeah.
give it a new name.
Yeah, it's
You
not
know?
the Fantastic Four anymore. If Reed Richards is not leading it, and Sue Storm is not that linchpin side character, it's not the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four. They've had many iterations with those two leading and a couple of others in it, like She-Hulk has been in it, Robbie the Robot's been in it, Crystal has been a member for a while, but once they went away from Reed Richards and Sue Storm, it really ceased to be the Fantastic Four. It was just another group of four.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
sponsored by the Baxter Corporation and everything, and financed by Reed Richards' legacy. But it wasn't the Fantastic Four anymore, because the Fantastic Four is Reed Richards' team, and it really, in my opinion, is still Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. Although I am okay with the She-Hulk years, because She-Hulk was a great substitute for Ben Grimm for the strongman of the group, and did quite a lot in her time with the Fantastic Four. There were some of my favorite issues of the comics, in fact. But that doesn't mean I have anything against Ben Grimm. It's just that I love She-Hulk that much. But yeah, there's so much going on, though, in the media empire. There's a call right now based on the OGL issues. There's people even calling to possibly boycott Honor Among Thieves as
Mm.
a statement to try to even put even more pressure on Wizards of the Coast to not ratify the 1.1 version of the OGL. Like I said, we're going to talk mostly about that next week, but I did want to point out that there's even a call to boycott. Now, I don't know if I would boycott the movie because I'm too anxious to see it, but I do understand where people are coming from on
Yeah.
that.
And the main thing, the main thing that Wizards of the Coast is paying attention to is their subscriptions. So if you want to hurt Wizards of
Yeah.
the Coast right now while they're
Oh, they
trying to figure out what they're going to do, then cancel your
D&D Beyond
subscription.
subscription, yeah, and a lot of people have. That's the thing, and they've already come by and publicly said that they're going to backtrack a lot of this stuff, and that this is not what they meant. Of course, some of that was
Yeah.
just backpedaling. I don't think it was actually that it's not what they meant. It's that they're trying to rescue themselves
Yeah.
from financial ruin. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's so much other things. Speaking of boycott, there's also talk about boycotting the new Wizarding World video game that's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, that talk's been going on for
yeah,
since the game was announced.
and it's one of the most anticipated games to come out in a while, but people are worried because of J.K. Rowling's anti sexual freedom stance, and I can understand that they don't want to do anything that would support that kind of a public agenda, open public agenda. At the same time, there's a huge fan base for the Harry Potter franchise, and there's a lot of people anticipating the game, and there's even talk of them doing a reboot of the the movies, with a recast and everything, and possibly just not putting J.K. Rowling's name on the production. And I'm not sure how
Like,
that would work because it's her property. It's her
I
IP.
mean, everyone knows
And
whether or not
everybody
you put
knows
the
it's
name on
her.
there. Everybody knows.
Right. Everybody knows that she is going to profit from it. They have to pay her royalties because it is her property. So
Yeah.
that's going to cause a whole kind of friction. I mean, there's all kinds of friction going on right now with these different things going on in the media universe. And that's going to cause lots of controversy for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, there's also a highly anticipated zombie apocalypse game that's getting ready to drop on Steam. Last Chance, I think it's called, and it's one of the most anticipated Steam games, most wish-listed game on Steam, and it's getting ready to drop finally. So that's another thing in this. There's just so much going on in news, and since we don't have a lot of real strict topic matter this week, I wanted to kind of do a brief
Yeah.
overview of all
It,
this media
it was
stuff.
it was kind of tricky because I was like, since we didn't decide not to talk in detail about the OGL today. I was looking at what other subjects we could talk about in more detail, and like there's a lot of like smaller news stories. Like we got
Yeah,
a bunch of small news stories, but not a lot of other big ones.
yeah,
Like we just had a drop for the trailer for season 3 of The Mandalorian,
Mandalorian, yeah,
which
yes,
comes out March 1st. And I know that the show doesn't mean a whole lot to you. You don't watch it, but I'm enamored by that
right.
TV series. Um,
And I'm sure a lot
and
of our viewers are too.
yeah, and like in the new trailer, it starts off with Mando talking about how being a Mandalorian is about more than just learning how to fight. You also must learn how to navigate the galaxy, or you'll find yourself lost in it, or something like that. And I don't know if that was the very beginning or if that was in the middle of it, because he also had a point where he was saying something about how um, Mandalorians, Mandalorians are like scattered all across the galaxy, like stars. Uh, you know, it sounded like he was just saying that the Mandalorians are not organized; they're just kind of scattered all around. And what do we stand for? What does it mean to be a Mandalorian anymore? Kind of questioning. And he makes a comment about how he's going back to Mandalore to answer for his mistakes or answer for his sins or something along those lines. And it seems like he's trying to dig into the history of what happened to Mandalore. And then there's a clip in the trailer that shows a bunch of Jedi in a hallway together with their sabers out. Looks like they're either getting ready to attack something or getting ready to defend against something coming for them. And there's like a door that seems to have a glowing thing, so it almost looks like someone's trying to cut through a door that's shielding the Jedi from someone else. I don't know. And you'll get some more Grogu. We get to see Grogu using some of her powers. Oh, the tablet? Sorry. We get to see Grogu like force shove somebody. So that's it's just, I don't know. It's just coming across looking really good to me. It's probably my second. Oh gosh, these live action Star Wars shows I really like a lot. The Book of Boba Fett was probably the weak point of the live action shows, but Mandalorian's really strong. The Obi-Wan Kenobi was strong. What was that other one? Andor. I thought I wasn't going to care about Andor, but I ended up loving Andor. It's sad that Boba Fett is like the weakest of the shows, because he's supposed to be this badass that everyone was looking forward to, and then his show came out kind of meh. The best parts of the Book of Boba Fett was the Mandalorian and Luke Skywalker. But so we got that, and that comes out I think March 1st, or at least early March. And then we also got we got some. What's that?
I know one of the things Squirrel was wanting to know is when Titan Season 4 Part 2 was going to be coming out. It does look like it's going to drop in April, is what they're looking at. So you're going to have to wait till April before you get Part 2 of the Titans, and that's quite a bit of a wait.
That's not Season 4 Part 2. That's a Season 5 at that point.
Almost.
Like, the only thing that makes it Season 4 at that point is they keep the same themes. Jeez.
Yeah.
Why is there an almost 5-month gap in between episodes?
Well,
crazy.
Partly because they put in the same time slot they put Doom Patrol, but because it's on a streaming service, the time slot don't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you could share times quite easily on a streaming service, so it really seems kind of redundant to me. But yeah. I know Squirrel was worried about that, so I looked it up. Because I remember seeing something about that. There are a lot of other things going on. What was the other thing I was going to mention? It just slipped my mind.
I was going to mention that an image of Suicide Squad, the video game, leaked. Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, I think is the full title.
Right.
An image just leaked of it showing a battle pass system. And revealing the game will be a games as a service product, which has a lot of people, kind of concerned.
They have finally. I can point out that they did finally confirm a renewal for Cobra Kai Season 5. So Cobra Kai Season 5 is in the works, but it'll probably be like a year before we see it. What was the other thing that was in? Oh, Umbrella Academy will be coming back for another season.
Was that confirmed?
That was confirmed. We will get another Umbrella Academy. Yes, I know. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I love the Umbrella Academy.
That was so good.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do in the next season. That's one of the ones that's been high on my list. There's some that I wish would get renewals that were initially canceled, like up to October Faction. I'd like to see a second October Faction. I'd like to see a second First Kill. There's a few others that were canceled too soon. In fact, I was just recently rewatching and this is kind of like my flashback for the week. I was rewatching the TV show Alphas. Uh,
Oh
and I
God,
love that, but it left us on a cliffhanger at the very end of
I
Alpha.
know.
And
Yeah.
that's one that I would love to see revisited, if nothing else, just to wrap it up. Um,
So
oh,
Okay, real quick on Alphas. Remind me the specifics of how season 2 ended. How I remember, because it's been a few years now, the bad guy basically won, right? Like
well,
there was like half the population
well,
collapsed.
there was these visual stimulator things that were tied into the electrical grid in New York, and they managed to turn off the power everywhere else but New York. But New York had, besides multiple backup systems, the bad guy, Stanton Parrish, had also wired in a backup generator underneath Grand Central Station that was an old tech, so Zoe could not have stopped it. And it was wired into the lighting system to cause them to flash in such a way that was like a steroid for alphas, but it also caused like death and seizures in non-alphas. The light pattern flashing, and at the very last episode, it went off, and then we cut, and we never got another episode. And it was like
Yeah.
such a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the thing going off, and then just crowds of people collapsing to the ground,
Anybody without an
and then the
alpha
credits.
ability collapse. Anybody with a latent alpha ability that may not have activated yet should have been activated by that. And anybody with an active alpha ability should now have the ability on steroids, because that's what the light flashing sequence did. But yeah, they ended right there with a cliffhanger, so we never know what happened. And so that's one I would love to see people go back to. Now, on
Yeah.
another note,
Unless they ever announce that there's another season coming, my assumption is I decided years ago that show ends with the bad guy winning.
yeah, I know, and that's kind of
It's it's like if the MCU ended at Infinity War.
right.
Thanos
Yeah,
won. That's it.
Thanos won.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the kind of ending that Alphas has, is the version their Thanos, their
Nah.
Magneto,
If
whatever,
you
won at the end of
if
the
you
day.
are interested in watching Alphas, it is available for free on the Roku channel. So you can see it on Roku, both season 1 and season 2. But be prepared for a cliffhanger, because it does not end. If you did not watch it originally, I'm warning you right now. If you don't like things that end in a cliffhanger that don't tie it up, don't watch it. Because it did. On other news, Jewel State, who played the engineer Kaylee on Firefly, has announced that she is officially a Disney princess now, because Firefly has gone to Disney Plus. So
Yeah,
she is
I
the
saw that
newest
tweet.
Disney princess.
I follow her on Twitter, and I saw that, and that made me laugh.
I thought that was hilarious, and I agree with the reasoning.
I don't know if it quite counts, because it's not like she was a princess in Firefly.
But
She was an engineer.
But neither was some of the others that count as princesses. I mean, Pocahontas counts as a princess. Ariel counts as a princess, and they're not strictly speaking princess. They might. Ariel is the daughter of a king, but Pocahontas is the daughter of a chief. And
yeah, okay, real quick. Being the daughter of the person who's in charge of the whole clan or the community, the city, the state, the country, whatever, makes you basically the princess of that culture. It's like, the chief is basically the Native American word of king.
But remember from Wreck-It Ralph 2, the little girl in Wreck-It Ralph 2 is considered a Disney princess, and she's not related to anybody.
Who
the little girl from Wreck-It Ralph 2? I can't remember the character's name, but she's considered a Disney princess.
Like the racer, the girl who does the racing, the main girl.
Yeah, and Lilo is considered a Disney princess from Lilo and Stitch. Since they're considered Disney princesses, the rules of princesses
No,
have been stretched.
Did you say Lilo or you said Lilo
Lilo is
is a
considered a
princess?
princess, a Disney
Yeah,
princess.
she's a princess in the same way of any other 7-year-old
Yeah,
girl is going
right.
to be called a princess.
Hey,
You
that's
know.
okay because Jewel was a very childlike character, even though she was also adult in a lot of other ways.
What I'm saying is she's not officially a princess. She's just like she's a princess according to her sister or to her
Or
guardians.
guardian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if if one of her guardians is not, some sort of king or something, she's not really a princess. She's just like a
Yeah, but the Disney princess roles have changed because a lot of the princesses were never the daughters of kings or princes anyway. They became princesses because they married a prince.
yeah.
Like
And that's the other way to become a princess.
right.
There's 2 ways to be a princess. Either one of your parents is a ruler, or you marry someone who's the kid of someone who's a ruler. Those are the 2 ways to
Hey,
be a princess beyond just your parents or your boyfriend calling you a
I don't know.
princess.
Personally, I'm behind Jewel State, and I say that she's a Disney princess because I love Jewel State. So she's my favorite character from Firefly. She always was. Even though nothing against Nathan Fillion or Summer Glau, but Jewel was my favorite. You know.
She was my favorite. She was my favorite
Yeah,
too.
Kylie was just.
I just think that I think we just are crossing a threshold of the word princess being meaningless at
I
this
don't
point.
mind her claiming it. I don't personally mind her claiming it. I mean, at least it signifies something for them, for Disney Plus picking up the rights to Firefly and being able to play it. And who knows? Disney Plus has been rebooting a whole bunch of movies and series. Maybe we can finally get that Firefly continuation or reboot.
Oh my god.
That would be amazing. Oh my god. You know how many people
To
would
be
get
honest,
excited?
I'm not sure if I want that anymore. I did for a long time, but I don't know.
Well,
I think at
a
this
lot of
point I'm
people
just
want to
like,
see it now, but they want to see it without Joss involved because of the controversy with Joss Whedon.
I mean, regardless of Joss, just so much time has passed, so much has changed in the lives of the people
And
involved.
and a lot of the original cast members are busy with other projects. Jewel is in
But then
another show.
again, I'm looking forward to this 30th anniversary of the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
I guess it's never too late.
Yeah, and I know Nathan Fillion had said he'd be on board if they could ever pull it off, but they've said on numerous occasions that they wouldn't do it.
I know he said that for a really long time, but I think like a year or two ago he said it. At this point, he's too old to do that show anymore.
Well, he did say that he would not do it if Joss was involved after the controversy.
Did he really?
Oh, wow. And there's a few others that have said that. There's several people that worked with Joss originally who won't do new projects if Joss is involved with them. Just like the reboot for Buffy the Vampire Slayer is in perpetual limbo right now because of the fact that people are not willing to do it with, with Josh's name attached to it, and they're not sure they can do it and take his name off of it because of some of the rights. And that's kind of has things in limbo because there's a lot of people that would like to see some kind of reboot / continuation of the Buffy story, maybe with a new generation of Slayer, and Buffy, Sarah Michelle Gellar just show up as a mentor in 1 or 2 episodes. But Sarah Michelle Gellar was.
I still need to watch that show. I own the entire series.
It is one of the best shows on TV. Speaking of others, the Teen Wolf movie comes out in just a couple of weeks on Paramount Plus, and Legends of Vox Machina Season 2 premieres this Friday on Amazon Prime. So the cartoon adaptation of the Critical Role campaign, Season 2, is this Friday. So that's something exciting. Like I said, there's so much going on in small news. Just to clarify why we're making a point about this, for those who don't know, we were restructuring the show starting this year. Instead of us doing multiple topics each at the beginning of the show, then going into media, now going forward, the plan is for each of us, me, Lurch, and Angel, to do one solid topic and then do our media section. And then we'll still sometimes do shows that are dedicated to a specific thing, like the Video Game Awards or San Diego Comic-Con or Geekmas.
And
and
I'm expecting next week's episode to be a large chunk of it to be about the OGL, because it is a very complicated
I'm not even planning a second topic for myself. I'm going to just pitch in on the OGL topic. If there's anything big in video game news, we'll get to video game. But otherwise, that's going to be our new format going forward. We're going to start with what happened with us in the last week, like we've been doing, brief recap. Then we're going to do one topic apiece for each of the hosts. Then we're going to go into our media section and talk about the new TV shows and movies, because we do like to still cover the media most weeks. We'll also have my From the Vault and Kickstarter occasionally, but not every single episode. Like, I didn't really prepare much other than that mention of alphas for the From the Vault, and I do not have a new Kickstarter this week. In fact, this week is a very loose one. In fact, we may even cut the show a little early this week because Angel's not here. I'm still a little congested. Fact is, in my zombie game, they're doing a raid tonight, and they'd really like my help. And because it's Horde Night, I don't know if, for those who have played 7 Days to Die, every 7th day by default, although we've got it set to every 10 days, there's a Horde Night where you get a massive zombie horde attacks your main base during the hours of night. And we've got one scheduled here in just a little bit. And so I may, if we're done with everything early, we might cut it early this week. But anyway, moving on, we've done a bunch of little topics. Did you have any other video game news this week, Lurch?
Video game news?
I'm going to go get a soda while you do that, too.
Okay, so PlayStation dropped a little teaser trailer showcasing games for the 2023 that'll be coming to PlayStation consoles. It featured footage of Final Fantasy 16, which is one of my highlights for the year. I cannot wait for that game.
And you're not a big MMO person, but 16 is not an MMO. 16 is a regular one, right?
Right, yeah. But, okay, here's the thing. Final Fantasy 16, and I think I mentioned this in another episode before, Final Fantasy 16 story is being written by the same people who wrote the story of Final Fantasy 14, which is an MMO.
Right.
And as a guy who's not generally really big into MMOs, I freaking loved Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
I thought the story in it was fantastic. And so, seeing what those guys can do with that crew of people can do with a single-player game has me really amped up.
And Final Fantasy, traditionally, is great story. They've always done good in the storyboard part of the game. And the gameplay part has always been good, too. Final Fantasy has been, overall, franchise-wide, a win. Final Fantasy has just always been one of the most popular franchises in video games.
Yeah, I know there's a ton of Final Fantasy games, and I haven't played all of them. But of the ones I've played, none of them, I'd say none of the ones I've played were terrible. I played 7, 9, 10. I played like to completion. 7, 9, 10. Tactics.
Yeah, there's
I don't.
because you
You can't say I played 14 to completion because it was
14's an
I played
MMO.
300 something hours.
Yeah.
It's an MMO, but I did beat the first several main big storylines. You know, the main original thing, and then the first like DLC, and maybe the second big
Did
DLC
you get
thing.
to the level cap?
Um, no, I never reached the level cap.
Okay, then yeah, you can't really say you went to completion there because that's the closest to completion you
But
can get in an MMO.
But to be fair, I also played several different classes.
Right.
Like my main class was a white mage,
Right.
and that's what I played. That's my main one. That's by far my highest level. But just for some other experiences, I also created a black mage. Same character. You have the ability to change classes. It's just when you change jobs,
Right.
you have different rules.
Yeah.
And it's a different level, and then you can switch
Oh,
back to your white mage at your high
I'm
level.
familiar.
So I started working on a black mage build. I started building up a herbalism job, leveling up herbalism and lumber work, and leather work and smithing and all this stuff. So I was like building levels and all these other things that you can do in that game. So I spent a lot of hours doing things that don't level up my main character, but it does give me more resources and things that I can use. So
Yeah.
like
It helps with the diversity.
I got better at building things, and I got better at mining. I got really high level in mining, so I could mine better materials, so I could use those materials for my smithing jobs, so I can then craft better items that my white mage can then use to be more powerful.
That's one of the things I'm
Um,
loving about 7 Days to Die is the resource gathering and the crafting is very good in that system. Building up bases and working on stuff. My character is the scrounge of the group. I go take apart everything. I have wrench will travel.
yeah.
I take apart everything. I mean, the other day I went and totally destroyed an entire POI. I went and broke it down to the baseboard. I collected everything, every scrap of wood, everything from that thing because I made it collapse, and then just took all the debris afterwards too. uh, it's so much fun and I've been mining
Yeah.
deep into the earth uh, for resources. It's one of the things that draws me to the game is the resource gathering part of 7 Days to Die. That's one of the things I like about the Fractured game that I've been beta testing, but it's getting ready to go down. In Fractured news, it's going down on the 31st of January because they've got to make a whole new server backend IMS system for the game because it uses Spatial OS, and I don't know if you know about games on Spatial OS, but several months ago, Spatial made everybody that was using Spatial OS use their Zeus IMS server client. And now their Zeus client is getting deprecated. It's not going to be used anymore. And so people who were using it, because before that they were able to put their servers up using like Google Cloud and things like that to host their game servers. But they were required basically at the beginning of last year to switch over to Zeus, which is their in-house server platform, the IMS platform. And I guess because Spatial OS had acquired Zeus, and Zeus is now being deprecated as a failed project, which in some ways is good for those developers because it was like it's an 85% decrease in server costs overall because the cost to use the Zeus platform is a heck of a lot higher than using some of the other server platforms for integration. So, but it means that my game is going down on the 31st. They just have been basically letting people play out the months, but they're not doing any support right now on the beta server. They're not doing any patches. They're really not unsticking people or anything right now in the game as they get ready for it to go down, and it's going to be down for however long it takes for them to bench test their in-house IMS system and then bring it back up. But that's a lot of that is programming and stuff. So if you don't understand programming, I know you do, Lurch. You understand what I'm talking about with the front end and back end systems and engines and things like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people not realize the IMS system is kind of how it interacts with the server that hosts out the game's environments, and they're having to build a whole new set. They have said it's not Spatial OS itself that they're getting rid of, because they already said if Spatial OS dies, they're dead in the water. There's no way they could continue. There's too much of their game is dedicated to Spatial OS. I personally think that given a little bit of time, they could port it over to something else, but it may not be cost effective to do so. But anyway, so the game is going to be down on the 31st. They've actually suspended sales of the game on December 24th. They stopped selling new memberships until they brought it back up, because they didn't want anybody to join just to find out that it wasn't being supported right now and was getting ready to go back down again. But it would be back up in another stage of beta sometime after the 31st of January. We're hoping they're only going to be down for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, but it could be a couple of months. It can take a long time to develop a new back-end server interface. Yeah. I know that they've got some testing already going on their private QA server using some of the beginning iterations, and they're starting to look pretty good. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be right back up a week after they go down or anything. But yeah, that's something else in the video game and news. And I usually like to cover the more PC games, because I know, although Lurch is starting to play more PC games because of his Steam Deck, so he can at least play the Steam version. So it's turned his PC into a console.
Yep.
And if you've not had a chance, check out the
funny.
Steam Deck.
What's funny is since I've got the Steam Deck, I haven't played on anything other than the Steam Deck.
And anybody who knows you would know that's a big tell right there.
Yeah. I've been playing, Final Fantasy 2 currently. I think I'm getting near the end of it. And I played Final Fantasy 1 shortly before that, and Half-Life just before that. And then I did a little game called, what was it? Steam Job? I don't know. I did a game where you work for, what's the name of the company in the Portal games?
I can't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about.
It's the same company in Portal and in Half-Life.
Right,
I can't
think of it. Valve is the company that makes the games, but I can't think of it.
Valve makes
but I can't think of the name of the company in the game.
Anyway, so there's this little game that Valve made specifically for playing on the Steam Deck, to try to show you all the different things that the Steam Deck itself does with different kinds of controls and things. And it's basically a job where you work for the company that makes the Portal gun and makes these turret robots, stuff like that. And it's a silly game that's 20-30 minutes long. But it was pretty fun. I think it was a free download if you have a Steam Deck. And then I've touched a couple of other games just a little bit, but the big ones I've really been playing is those two Final Fantasy games, the Pixel Remastered versions, and the original Half-Life, which I'm thinking the next game I play might be Half-Life 2, after I finish Final Fantasy 2. Except, Forspoken is dropping on PS5. I forget what day exactly, and that's going to be the next thing I play, unless I have to leave the house for a period of time.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think I want to take my PS5 to Minnesota, but I'm definitely taking the Steam Deck.
Right. Absolutely. I understand that. Anyway, we're going to move on. We don't have a lot of other topics, so like I said, we're going to basically just kind of go over. I'm going to mention a little bit about Megan real quick, and then we'll talk about Willow,
Yeah.
and I think we'll be done for the week. Uh,
There was one other announcement that just also came out. Season 3 trailer was dropped for Animaniacs,
oh,
like the reboot of Animaniacs.
oh, not only that, the new season of Animaniacs is coming out in February. Also, they're talking about uh, the Luniversity show is in the works for Tiny Toons to come back.
Tiny Toons.
Yes,
Oh wow.
it's called Luniversity, and if you remember, they went to Acme Luniversity in the Tiny Toons show, so Luniversity makes sense. Uh, and there's recent work on that too. So yeah, like I said, there's so many little stories this week in media and nerddom that it's crazy. Yeah, but what we're going to see now, Megan. I will say there's big controversy online right now who would win between Chucky and Megan, and I'm telling you, it would be close. Megan is brutally nasty. She's creepy. She gets the creep factor down pat. I will tell you that right now. The creep
Yeah.
factor in this show and the mix of a little bit of comedy in with the creep is just so great. Uh, I recommend you see it if you haven't. I want to go see it again already, and I don't usually see it
Wow.
multiple times in theaters. I wait until it comes out after that. But it was so good, I want to see it again. And I'm a huge Chucky fan too, and I would be torn. See, the one thing that I think Chucky has in his corner that people keep forgetting is Chucky Supernatural, the original Chucky, not the new Chucky. He don't count. The original Chucky is supernatural. He's voodoo, and you can't kill him because of the voodoo spell. Where Megan is an AI system, and an AI system can be killed, contrary to what Skynet wants you to think. Speaking of Skynet, I've been rewatching the Sarah Connor Chronicles too. Uh,
Oh man, that's a show I need to watch.
I love that show.
You okay? Terminator. I saw a clip of the actor who played in Terminator 2 as the liquid metal
Oh
Terminator,
yeah,
right?
that's
And
oh, what is his name? Never mind. I know who you're talking about.
yeah, I can't think of his name, but they were talking about the scene where early in the movie when they escape from the liquid metal guy and you see him walking out of fire all liquid form. And it's kind of like the first time really seeing what his powers can do, right? And anyway, they had to reshoot that like a whole bunch of times. And I think the actor was getting really frustrated because they had to do that shot like 27 times, and
Robert
he was
Patrick.
feeling like he was like failing at doing this job that they wanted to do, failing at getting the
It was
shot
Robert.
because it's really it's
Robert Patrick.
what? Okay. So Robert was like getting frustrated. He was telling the story about how he was getting frustrated while shooting that because he had little mistakes would happen or adjustments have to be made, and he had to reshoot it over and over again, and he felt like it was his fault. There's all this fire and it's hot and everything while they're doing this stuff, and he said that uh, James Cameron, who we referred to as Jim, kind of took him aside, and he's like I figured Jim probably didn't recognize how frustrated I was getting at myself, and he took me aside and told me he's like don't stress about it so much. This has never been done before. We're making movie history. So like you have to expect there's going to be a lot of trial and error. He didn't say this next part, but the idea is there's going to be a lot of trial and error and till you get it just right when you're doing something brand new, something that's
And
never
that's
been
the
done
thing.
before.
James Cameron is known for pushing the envelope. He loves to try
Yes.
new. That's why
Yeah.
his shows are so amazing because he pushes the envelope constantly.
Yeah. A lot of his movies that he makes requires new technologies and new techniques to be invented
Just for that
to
movie.
pull off what he wants to do.
Just for that movie.
Yeah, just for yeah. And then future movies can make use of that, obviously, but new things have to be developed and invented. for his movies
Yeah,
the way he wants them to be.
yeah, he is a
And
trailbreaker. He
yeah,
goes in there and he's like, I want to do this. That's never been done before. Well, make it happen, and, and they make it happen, and
yeah,
it's so good that
yeah,
the next 20 big movies that come out all try to use some part of it because, hey, you
yeah.
know, James Cameron did it. Now
Gosh,
everybody has to try it.
like there's a countless movies now that have used that built off of the techniques he used for the liquid metal.
Oh yeah.
Not just for
Oh
other liquid metal, but like CG of like flowing,
yeah.
movable liquid like
Entities
patterns.
and
You know?
stuff. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
used the liquid metal stuff. Some of the stuff that he innovated in blue and green screen usage has been used by other people. A lot of the bullet time stuff that you see in like the Matrix and everything came from James Cameron's works. And
the I don't know about the bullet time thing. I know the bullet time was really worked on a lot with
the Matrix.
was really pushed forward by the Wachowskis
Yeah,
during the
but
Matrix.
but it is based on some of the other work that was done by James Cameron. There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that is a lot of the 3D work is based on James Cameron's work with 3D. Uh,
Yes.
he is just an amazing filmmaker, and every one of his works is like a jewel in the crown of movie making. Um, so and I can't wait to see more of what he does. I mean, uh, I haven't seen Avatar 2 yet. Uh,
Well, he said he knows what I think he said something along the lines of the next 8 years of his life is working on Avatar.
yep. I haven't seen 2 yet, partly because of my congestion and partly because I'm not, because I really kind of, I've said it before, I'm torn because Avatar is the first movie I ever saw that truly used 3D properly and appropriately.
Yeah.
And so I almost want to see Avatar 2 in 3D, but I worry about with my left eye being mostly blind,
Mm.
whether I'll get the full effect. And I go with Ralphie, and Ralphie can handle watching the 3D. So I might
Oh
just
yeah.
wait for Avatar to come to stream before I watch it. If I'm not going to see it in the movies in 3D, I don't know if I want to see it in the movies, kind of thing. Uh,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. But I definitely recommend seeing Megan. I don't want to do too much as far as spoilers because I'm the only one that's seen it. And I like to have a full-on discussion with spoilers with one of my co-hosts at least. So hopefully Lurch will get a chance to see it. But with everything going on in your life, I understand why you're not making the movies right now. Uh,
Yeah.
um, I actually have a companion season pass to Alamo. So, I mean, I know you have a season pass over the IMAX, but if you wanted to go with somebody and see it, I would want to see it again. If you wanted to take me over to the Alamo to see it sometime, we could possibly schedule that at some point. But I know with your life going on, you may not have the time schedule.
Yeah.
But it's an open
Boy,
offer.
oh boy.
It's an open offer.
I I saw Avatar 2 at the Alamo, and that visit ended up being like a total of about $125.
What you ate?
It
You
was
ate,
expensive.
you
I
ate
mean,
the
we got
food.
food and everything. We ate. Yeah.
Yeah. See, last time we were there, I got lucky because I'd earned a free pizza on my account, and so I got the free pizza, and then the only thing that Ralphie bought was a soda because he ate before
Yeah.
we went. So, and we rarely get
Like
food.
when you add it all up, it's a dinner and a movie, and it ultimately isn't all that bad if you're trying to make it like a whole thing,
Oh
like
no.
because Allie wanted to make it like a whole date thing and like eat there instead of like eating at a restaurant before. So if you're like thinking about how much it would have cost to eat out before going there and then going to the movies, the price isn't so
I'm
bad.
not a huge fan of
But
their food, but their pizza wasn't bad. I had the omnivore,
yeah,
and it wasn't bad. And Ralphie sometimes gets like their seasoned fries with the toppings, the loaded fries thing. Uh, I hear their milkshakes are really good. But most of the food I've had there hasn't been great, so I'm not really a big food person there. At most, we usually just get like popcorn, and I personally hate movie popcorn, but I'll eat it if it's there because it's a forced habit thing,
Yeah.
something to do with my hands and the salt. But I'm not really a fan of movie popcorn, but I do eat it when it's there half the time just because it's there. I like it if you put like that white cheddar cheese powder on it. Uh, yeah, but yeah, it's a movie. I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to go see it. I'm probably just going to wait till it comes to stream. And speaking of stream, let's go on to Willow. Now, I did not see the most recent episode of Willow, which is the finale, but that's okay because we've got a couple of back episodes to talk about. There's a lot been going on
Yep.
in Willow, and of course we've been covering other things, and then of course the first episode of the year got canceled because I was sick. Then of course the second episode was our recap episode, so we didn't go into Willow. So we're like 3, 4 episodes behind. Actually, we also took 2 weeks off at Christmas time. So,
Yeah,
so
I don't remember.
we're
I'm
we're
not
we're
entirely.
we're only like
I'm
two
not.
episodes in, I think, of Willow and discussion.
Yeah, because we had the holidays, and then
So we can talk quite a bit
things.
about Willow and not get into the current episode. I will say,
Yeah.
first of all, they're staying really true to the original spirit of the story. That I love. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, what's his name? Warwick Davies is a genius actor. He's great. I absolutely love him as Willow. I'm glad that they got him back as Willow. They didn't try to recast it, uh, which is a phenomenal choice. Now the other actors in the new team. Let's talk about the party because that's really the thing. Willow. One of the things that I've always liked about Willow being a D&D player is it's a good representation of a party for D&D because it's got a mix of different jobs and everything, and it shows your classic adventure party for like a D&D group. Willow being the wizard slash sorcerer, but Alora Dannon being the itinerant wizard slash sorcerer coming into her own. In the original
Yeah.
Willow was the itinerant, and in this one, Willow is the mentor, and Alora Dannon is the itinerant sorcerer. We've got a bard. Although he never actually talked to him as being a bard, he's always playing the lute. He's got some little bits of magic, and he's got a world of knowledge. His trivia is coming out like crazy. I mean, even Willow turns to him in one episode and says, like, wait a minute, who's the prime sorcerer here? I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. You know, why are you doing all this explaining? I'm supposed to be doing this. But he's a bard.
Yeah.
He's totally a bard. Nobody can deny
That was
that
my.
character's a bard.
That's what I said. Like as soon as I realized he was blasting magic out of a
Freaking flute?
flute thing,
Yeah.
I was like, he's a fucking bard.
Yeah.
Like he's like in this context in the dialogue, he's referred to as a sorcerer.
But he's a bard.
But
In
yeah,
D&D
I won't
he's
give
a
away
bard.
I won't give away what the scenario was. But in like the final episode, there was a moment that happened, and he's like, "What am I supposed to do? Oh right, I'm a sorcerer."
No, he's a bard. Dang it.
Yeah, and so he gets to work at what he gets to work
And
at doing trying to do some sorcery.
Borman is obviously a fighter slash fallen cavalier type, maybe with a little bit of rogue in him. Then the princess, she's a bit of a dex fighter swashbuckler type.
Yeah,
Where
in training.
well,
the
princess
okay,
in training. Where
here's what's funny.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny. I was expecting the guy who the bard. I was expecting him to be like the most worthless person in the team. But it's the princess. She's the most worthless
right?
person on the team.
And then her best friend slash almost lover, uh, they've had a little bit of teasing around that anyway. But her best friend, lover, guardian, whatever, is totally the cavalier slash paladin of the group. She's not wholly not using a lot of like paladin abilities, but she's very much the noble protector knight type in training, and she is a knight in training, so she's the paladin of the group. And then of course we also had for a little while Willow's best friend, who was the little blade fighter, which he was totally a uh, fighter slash rogue subclass dagger specialist, and he was a dagger specialist, boy, and he was tough for being that little guy. Even though he does die in the show, he is a badass. Other badasses, the two ladies that Alora Dannon comes across in the woods, the one with the axe, she was totally a barbarian, man. Barbarian woodsman.
Oh, yeah.
She was like a barbarian slash ranger type with that frickin' axe of hers. She was very kind of sophisticated, liked to use big words and stuff, so didn't talk like a barbarian. But she had that battle axe, man, and
Yeah.
she would have won if it wasn't for the supernatural capabilities of the opponent she was fighting.
Yeah, she's a well-read barbarian.
Very well-read barbarian. And probably the single most disappointing thing of the series so far for me is how quickly she died. We did not get enough of her character. I liked her character. I thought her character was phenomenal, and she was too quick. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I thought she was such an engaging character. I would have liked to have seen more of her. That was the biggest disappointment in the whole series for me. Mm-hmm. But then again, I have not seen the finale. But if you've not had a chance out there, Willow is worth it if you're a Disney Plus subscriber. Willow is one of those shows you have to watch. I also recommend watching the Santa Claus on Disney Plus. Is the TV series continuation from the Santa Claus movie. It wrapped up, and it is absolutely adorable. Tim Allen is some of his best, and that's saying something because Tim Allen can be very, very funny. But of course, when he plays Saint Nick, he's even more hilarious. So I recommend seeing that as well. Disney is doing more and more. They just recently started their National Treasures TV series. And so far, Nicolas Cage is not set to appear in this season. Although there's rumor that he might be in the very final episode, teasing that he's going to be in the next season. But those are rumors. So National Treasures TV series is on Disney Plus. Disney Plus just has some great series adaptations to movies coming out. The Turner and Hooch series is great. I've not watched it, but I hear a lot of people are liking the Mighty Ducks TV series. There's the Three Ninjas TV series. I've seen a couple episodes of that. That's pretty cool.
Wait, I don't remember that one. I didn't remember there was a Three Ninjas
show.
There's
a Three Ninjas show. Yeah, Disney Plus has been doing a lot with bringing back TV show adaptations of old Disney movies. And they're actually turning out to be pretty good adaptations. So keep your eye out on that. Anything else you think we need to cover this week, Lurch?
Shoot. I I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think.
I was trying, like, when it came to Willow, I was kind of letting you take the lead on that because I didn't want to, like, accidentally speak too much about the final episode.
I'll probably watch it
I just
tonight.
I gave that one little snippet that was kind of funny, but otherwise, I'm trying to keep my lips sealed on the finale of Willow. I think so. For me, Willow was a pretty good show. You know, nothing spectacular, but you know, an enjoyable show. It kept to the spirit of the original movie, which um, which also means I felt similarly about the movie. I liked the movie. I don't think it's a cinematic masterpiece by any means, but I do feel like both the show and the movie are enjoyable pieces of fantasy. Um,
Now,
I am not quite as sold on Warwick Davis as an actor, I guess, as you are. I find his acting skills to be a little bit on the weaker side, but I don't know.
I don't know. I've always liked Warwick Davies, but
Yeah, like I like him. I just don't think his acting is particularly strong. You know, like he gets. I think he gets those roles because of
well, part of it is his
uh
dwarfism. That's
yeah. I think a large part of how he gets his roles is his dwarfism. You know, he's certainly no what's that guy's name that did Game of Thrones?
I can't think of the actor's name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Like
He's my favorite character in Game of Thrones.
that guy is such a strong actor
Tyrion
that
Lannister.
he could play just about any role as long as the role doesn't require you to be large.
Right.
Right?
Well,
Warwick Davis is a good enough of an actor for someone of his stature,
well,
I
like
guess.
he was in that one X-Men movie as Peter Rutley.
Yeah.
Peter Rutley is who. Rutledge. Peter Rutledge is, I guess, his name is. Allison's in the background yelling, "Peter Rutledge! Peter Rutledge!"
Oh yeah. Peter Dinklage?
Rutledge, I guess. Dinklage or Rutledge? Dinklage. It is Dinklage. She misremembered it. Peter Dinklage.
So, yeah, you got me close enough. Yeah. So yeah, he played as Trask on
Yeah.
in one of the X-Men movies, which he was great in that movie. He was great in that
And it was
movie.
surprising
He was
because
great.
Trask, you don't traditionally think of as a dwarf, but he still pulled it off, and you never even thought about it like that.
Yeah.
He is really good. I agree. And Tyrion Lannister is my favorite character in Game of Thrones. I like Jon Snow, and I love Arya Stark. They're my next two favorites. Arya Stark probably more than Jon Snow, but Tyrion Lannister is an amazing character.
Yeah.
And
So anyway, I think Warwick Davis is, a serviceable actor. I don't think he's an amazing actor. And even like within the cast of this show, like of our main cast, I'd say he's like in the bottom half of the
really,
performers.
wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can talk anymore. No. But then again, we've had other disagreements. That's okay. We're allowed to disagree as long as we know I'm right.
I don't know who I would put in the top though of the main cast. I think like the redheaded girl with the curly hair.
Yeah, she's actually really good.
She was great. She did really
Laura
great.
Bannon is really pretty good.
Yeah, she did really good.
I don't think the princess's brother is very good. He's just kind of milquetoast. The princess is actually good in her role. Borman is kind of good.
Yeah, Borman I think was
very
good.
Interesting. I will say that the princess's brother at least has a lot of facial similarities to Val Kilmer, which means that you can see him as being possibly related to Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Which helps.
So yeah, I think of the main cast, probably the prince was probably the worst acted part.
Mm, yeah.
Um,
Where the Bard
like
was really good. The
what's that?
Bard,
Oh
he's
yeah,
really good.
the bard. I was thinking, I was like, the bard might be the best of them. The guy
Willow
who played the bard might be the best acting performance.
Willow's best friend isn't bad either.
Yeah, his little buddy with the dagger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
was.
was.
You totally believed him as his character. That's for sure.
Yeah,
He was a little
yeah.
scrapper boy.
he he was only in a couple episodes, but like
He is a scrapper,
he did good.
and he's the
He
original
stole some
actor
of
from
his.
the Willow movie too. So bringing him back was great. Having
Yeah,
him reprise his role again. Um, but overall, I recommend the show to anybody out
yeah.
there. Definitely see it,
If you
especially if
if
you're a
you
D&D
like
fan.
if you like the movie, or if you want to watch a show that's got kind of a, it kind of feels like a silly D&D kind of a show,
If you want to look at a D&D
then
campaign that made real,
yeah.
especially in
It's not
preparation for
it's not terribly serious. It's not a serious fantasy show. It's a silly fantasy series.
but if you've played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, you also know that a lot of campaigns tend to dip into the serious, it's silly every once in a while too. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
don't
If
know.
you're doing D&D, when you're doing D&D, you're going to have some like silly, comments and
Right,
events
and
happening.
that's why
And so it
it's such a
works.
good reflection of a D&D campaign. Um,
Yeah.
now, Honor Among Thieves will be out on March 31st, so you'll see another adaptation of a D&D campaign. And it's looking kind of good because of the fact that, among other things, the leader of the party is a bard, which I think is great.
I
Uh,
I do kind of feel like one thing that I kind of got a little annoyed about with the show is Willow's powers and his ability to access the powers fluctuates wildly from one episode to another.
well, part of it is if you read in some of the subtext in that world, Willow is running out of magic. He's only got so much magic left, and so he's having uh,
Yeah.
to safeguard it. He can't use it all up
Yeah,
because
but
he's
like
having to
I don't
hold
know,
it back.
like he did that, he did that magical blast around episode 3 or so that just like suddenly drained him, right?
Right.
And what he did there is nothing compared to what you see later in the show, and he just seems to be fine.
Well,
And it was weird.
some of it is because he's holding back more in the beginning of the show, and some of it is
Yeah,
because he's getting back into the use of his powers.
yeah,
The more he uses them, the more he can use them. Which that's just kind of like
yeah.
leveling up in a
I'm, I'm,
campaign.
I'm, I'm thinking the only thing that makes sense is the time that they spent crossing the Shattered Sea. Which you saw that episode, right? Where
Yeah.
they're crossing the, yeah, you saw the bard use some sorcery, which
Right.
happens in that episode. In that episode, they talk about how they're not sure if they've been traveling for weeks or for months, but they've been stopping periodically. They've been stopping and training, and he's trying to train
Alora Dunn.
Aurora. And so while he's training Aurora Dunham.
Dunn.
Anyway, while he's training Aurora, I have to imagine he is like re-strengthening his own magical muscles along the way.
If you think of it in
Um,
Final Fantasy 14, he's switching back into that class and kind of reawakening those powers
yeah,
because he's
and so
been less active.
that's the one thing I can think of that like kind of makes it work is that he's been because of time, but then also shoot like they spent possibly months traveling to rescue this guy that's been in this like desert city with no food. I guess I mean
Well,
they kind of explained that a little bit
that
that
pool that they're
water
drinking
gives you your
from,
nutrients,
yeah, it's supposed
but
to be magically
is
sustaining.
but like how long did he go before he started drinking that? It seemed like he was there for weeks before he started drinking
Well,
it. I don't know. Anyway.
he had to drink something because you can only go for so long without water.
Yeah.
You could go like 3 days without food, but you really need to have water every day. Uh, so,
Yeah. No, anyway.
anyway, it's great. So I think we're going to round up this week. It's about a half hour early, so we're not cutting too early, but we look forward to seeing Angel next week. And like we said, next week is mostly going to be about the open gaming license controversy with Dungeons and Dragons, unless anything else big happens in the nerd world between now and then. If a big game release announcement comes out, I'm sure Lurch will cover it. If anything else game breaking comes out with like Marvel or DC, I'm sure I'll cover it, or Lurch will cover it, or whatever. But mostly next week will be about the open gaming license controversy and Dungeons and Dragons, and then we'll talk about some more about Willow. And I think that'll be the plan. What do you think, Lurch?
Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Okay. Thank you for those that have listened in. As usual, the show gets transferred over to YouTube. If you look under Gamer Seuss on YouTube, you'll find it in the Game Time library or playlist. And I usually get it over there within a week of us broadcasting. We'll see you next week, barring any real-world complications, because, of course, our real-world Super Sale, like I was almost too congested to even run today, because as you heard me doing a lot of coughing. It can take, 4 to 6 weeks for congestion to get out of my lungs. I'm on the end of week 2 here. I'm hoping this clears up pretty quick. But all our thoughts and good wishes go out to Squirrel and to Angel, because I know he's not here, and I'm not going to expose his personal information to say why. But we will see him next week. Talk to everybody. Same bad time, same bad channel. Have a good one.
Peace out.
Excelsior.